Hey everyone, this is just going to be like a really quick update right quick on Noah. Yesterday when I was talking in the video, I was talking about how he was kind of like a little congested and coughing a little bit. Well, last night it got like really bad. Yesterday we were sucking with the nasal aspirator. We were sucking some mucus out of his nose, and it was just, it barely hinted like a little bit of green, but it was like a whole lot of mucus, and I've never sucked that much mucus out of his nose ever. And he didn't sleep worth a darn last night, and you know, I don't like to sleep with him in our bed or on the couch, and so he wasn't sleeping well, so I put him on my chest last night to try to help calm him down so that he could go to sleep, and then I was going to put him in the bassinet after he fell asleep. And I laid him down after I got him to sleep, and then he was so restless, and I asked my husband if he felt comfortable with me putting him on his belly to sleep, because there again, I'm not comfortable with that either, just because of the whole SID suffocation thing. But last night I didn't know what else to do, so we did. We put him on his belly, and he slept from about midnight till 3. And then he woke up, and he was real restless, and he couldn't breathe, and he had the passy in his mouth still, and his nose was so stopped up, like he was really struggling to breathe. So we got the passy out of his mouth, and I got this nasal aspirator, and I suctioned his nose again and got tons more of mucus out of his nose. And he hates the nasal aspirator, so he cried and cried and cried, and I walked around with him in the house and finally got him calmed down, and got him back to sort of sleeping, and he just kind of rustled around in the bed all night, and he got up at 7 to eat, and I fed him, and I went ahead and called the doctor at 8 o'clock when they opened, and told her that we needed to bring him in, that he wasn't feeling good. We knew something wasn't right with him, and so we took him in, and sure enough he has a cold, but she also diagnosed him with something called tracheomalacia, and I'll write it down in the bottom in the description, but she gave us a little printout of exactly what it is, and this sounds exactly like him. I've got a little printout that she gave me, and I'll go over right quick. Tracheomalacia is a condition in which the walls of the trachea are very weak or soft. And the trachea is right in here. It's right where your windpipe is. In other words, your windpipe. So, anyways, basically what it is a tube with muscles and cartilage, and the rings of cartilage support the windpipe, and it helps to keep it open while you breathe. And with tracheomalacia, the windpipe could be so weak that it actually collapses and can block the airway. It's most common in infants and small children. Most of the time it is a birth defect. However, tracheomalacia, and I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that right, tracheomalacia. If you know what I'm talking about, and if I'm pronouncing it wrong, please tell me. So, anyways, it says it may also develop in premature babies, which Noah was, and people who have breathing tubes in their throats for a long time. Noah had a breathing tube in his throat, but he didn't have it for a long time, but he did have one. So, and people who have an abnormal connection between the trachea and the esophagus, and people who have severe gastroesophageal reflux disease, which is GERD. So, anyway, some of the symptoms include loud, noisy breathing, which Noah has like all the time, and a loud barking cough. It says your child will wheeze constantly and be worse when crying, feeding, or coughing, and Noah does pretty much have a wheeze a lot of times, especially when he's eating. So it says your infant's breathing will also be worse when he has a cold, and so like since he's got this cold, it's been like 100 times worse, which I think is what made us think it was so bad. And she said with this condition, it will cause you to think it's worse than what it really is. So anyhow, it says the symptoms usually improve when the baby lies on his or her stomach to sleep, which is true. When we lay him down to sleep on his stomach on the floor while we're up during the day, he seems to sound better. So It says most babies with this disorder seem happy and do not seem to be struggling when they wheeze. The wheezing does not improve when the baby is given medications such as bronchodilators and anti-inflammatory drugs. So, if it's a severe case, the child may struggle very hard for their breath. And it also says the chest wall may become deformed and babies may not be able to breathe and eat at the same time, and they may not gain weight properly. If the airway is severely collapsed or blocked, the baby may need to be given oxygen. And Noah has a hard time sometimes eating and breathing at the same time. Like, he gets choked up a lot when we feed him, and it kind of scares us because we don't want him to aspirate his milk into his lungs, causing pneumonia. But, so, and then it says, how is it treated? Tracheomalacia usually improves by the time the child is 6 to 12 months old, and usually goes away by 24 months of age. So, it says children usually don't need medical treatment. And it says usually children with this condition need to be carefully watched if they get a respiratory infection. So, let's see, if it's severe and does not improve or causes growth problems, it says your child may need continuous positive airway pressure, which is basically CPAP. If you know what CPAP is, it's a little device that goes on their nose, and every time they breathe in, it's the pressure that helps to keep the airways open. It doesn't actually breathe for the child or the person. It just helps to keep the airway open as they're breathing, so that the airway doesn't collapse on them. And also, they may need a tracheotomy, which is where they put a hole in the neck and, well, they make an incision in the neck and put like a tube straight into the trachea. And the tube goes down, sort of like if you were to have a breathing tube, like a ventilator tube going down your throat, except it bypasses the throat and the mouth and just goes straight to the trachea. But those are only in severe cases that aren't improving or causing problems with weight gain. So anyways, that is basically what she told us as far as his cold and stuff goes. Also, I don't think I've mentioned to you guys, but he turns purple. And it's just out of the blue. Like the other day, for instance, I was holding him in my arms, like in a cradle hold, and his left arm turned purple. Like from the shoulder all the way to his fingertips. And I told the doctor about it a couple weeks ago, and she told me to make sure his lips and tongue weren't turning purple. And she said, as long as that's not turning purple, just to document it and keep it a record of when it's happening, how often it's happening, what limb is happening to, and like how long is it lasting. And so I got up after I seen his arm turn purple. I walked into the kitchen and got a pen and a piece of paper to write down that it happened, what position I was holding it in, how long it was lasting, yada yada yada. And so I wrote it down, and by the time I got done writing it down, his arm was back to the normal pink color. But at that point, the other arm, his right arm, had turned purple. So, and then a few days later, I was holding him, you know, just regular up and down vertical position, and his legs turned purple. Both of them turned purple at the same time. And sometimes it's one leg, sometimes it's both legs, sometimes it's one arm, sometimes it's both arms. Well, a couple of times it looked as if maybe his mouth or lips were turning purple, and not like so purple that it's like that noticeable, just like a hint of purple. And I don't know if I thought it looked purple because I'm reading too much into it, or if it really was turning purple. And so I asked Ryan if I thought it looked like that, and he said no, he didn't think it looked like it was turning purple at all. He thought it looked normal. And so I didn't say nothing, or I didn't call the doctor right away, just because I assumed that maybe I was just seeing things. And so anyways, we were talking to the doctor today about it, and she definitely wants to have him checked out. She listened to his heart, and she says she doesn't hear anything with his heart, but she says sometimes when you have heart issues, sometimes you can't hear them with a stethoscope. And Carly, our first daughter, had a heart defect, and that's what caused her to pass away when she was 4 months old. So we're taking Noah this Friday at 2:30 to the cardiologist, and he's going to get an echocardiogram of his heart to make sure that there's nothing going on with his heart, because the only thing that leads her to believe basically the only reason the limbs and the mouth should turn purple is usually because of a heart condition. So hoping and praying that there's nothing wrong with his heart, but if there is, hopefully it'll be something that they can fix. So, that is what's going on with Noah today. So, yeah, it's a little scary, but hopefully, like I said, hopefully nothing's going on with him, and hopefully we can get past this and move on, and hopefully he can get better from this stinking cold. And I know he doesn't feel good. He's just sleeping today. If I don't wake him up, he'll sleep right through a feeding. So I'm having to wake him up so at least he's getting what he needs in his tummy to eat. So that's it. I just wanted to give you guys a little update. So just keep him in your prayers and thoughts so that everything goes well at the doctor's on Friday. And I will give an update Friday when we get home from the doctor. And if not Friday, I'll give one Saturday. But I'll probably be able to do it on Friday. So, but that's it. Okay, thanks guys.